Good morning, Reformation Lutheran Church and School. This is Miss Jen reporting from the RLCS newsroom. We have breaking news of wild and wonderful animals that are being observed in the mountains. This area is full of mountains which are higher and steeper than hills. It rises high above the surrounding terrain, over 1,000 feet higher, in a limited area made from rocks and earth. Mountains have steep, sloping sides and sharp or slight rounded edges and peaks. Peaks are the tops of the mountains. Mountains can be rocky and barren, have trees growing on their sides, and are snow on their peaks. Mountains cover 1/5 of the Earth's surface and occur in 75% of the world's countries. More than half of the world's fresh water comes from mountains, and all the major rivers in the world are fed from mountain sources. Most mountains are formed when things happen inside the Earth to push rocks up. The longer this happens, the higher the rocks are pushed, and the higher the mountains can be. While some mountains are getting taller, you can't see them grow. It takes a very, very long time for mountains to form. Mountain habitats have a lot of variety. Because mountains are mostly rock, there isn't much soil for growing things, and the tree plants that do grow there are able to thrive in the rocky mountain conditions. You can also find different plants and animals the higher you climb up a mountain because temperatures get cooler. This also means that there is more rain at the top of a mountain than at the bottom. This is because hot air rises, but as it rises, it cools down. As it cools down, it loses moisture and has to drop it off somewhere along the way up. If it's cold enough, this moisture will fall as snow rather than rain. You can tell just how cold it is at the top of a mountain by looking at how much snow you can see at the summit. Some mountains are so high that it's too cold for anything to grow at the top, and there is less oxygen at very high altitudes. Often all the trees stop at about the same altitude, and the mountain is bare at that, apart from scrub and grass. This altitude is called the tree line. That's where the trees stop growing. With conditions like that, living on mountains can be very challenging for both animals and people. Animals that live on mountains are used to the cold temperatures and the different types of plants that grow there. Well, it's time for our first guest in our studio, and in fact, it's a family. Should we see who has come to visit us? Well, here they are. Whoopsies. Here we go. Ta-da! It's a family of white-tailed deer. There you go. Whoops. There you go. And here is one of the bucks. That's a male deer. The white-tailed deer is the smallest member of the North American deer family. They have reddish-brown coats in the summer, and it fades to a duller grayish-brown in winter. The male deer, called bucks, are easily distinguished in the summer and fall by their large set of antlers. New antlers are grown annually, that means every year, and fall off in the winter. White-tailed refers to the white underside of the deer's tail, which it displays and wags, so moves it side to side like a dog's, when it senses danger. These large mammals weigh 110 to 300 pounds. The white-tailed deer habitat includes areas along streams and rivers, mixed woodlands, farms, forest, and burned shrub fields. Open areas are used only when thick shrubs or forests are nearby. White-tailed deer feed on a variety of vegetation, depending on what is available in their habitat. In eastern forests, buds and twigs of maple, sassafras, poplar, aspen, and birch are consumed, as well as many shrubs. Conifers are eaten in winter when other plants become scarce. That means when it's harder to find food. Female deer, called does, give birth to 1 to 3 young at a time. When looking for food, females will leave their offspring in a hiding place for about 4 hours at a time. That's about the time from drop-off till the end of lunch. While waiting for their mother to return, fawns, that's the babies, lay flat on the ground with their necks outstretched, well camouflaged against the forest floor. White-tailed deer are generally solitary. That means they live alone, especially in summer. The basic social unit is a female and her fawns, although does have been observed to graze together in large herds. White-tailed deer are crepuscular. That means they're active around sunrise and sunset, feeding mainly from before dawn until several hours later, and again from late afternoon until dusk. They rest or are inactive during daylight hours. Most white-tailed deer live about 2 to 3 years. The maximum lifespan in the wild is 20 years, but few deer live past 10 years old. White-tailed deer have good eyesight and hearing, and they use their speed and agility to outrun predators, sprinting up to 30 miles an hour and leaping as high as 10 feet and as far as 30 feet in a single bound. Wow, those were some pretty amazing facts, and you have such an amazing antlers. I can't wait to see you guys come back again so we can see more of your antlers. Well, it's time for our next guest in the studio. Let's see who it is. I think you guys can guess what this is. It's a rabbit, but it's just not any type of rabbit. It's called a snow hare. So here's a close-up picture of it. It's a snowshoe hare. Sorry, I missaid its name. I don't want you to get mad at me. Please don't be mad at me. So the snowshoe hare during the winter is snow white with black tips on its ears. During the spring thaw, it takes the hares 10 weeks to change from white to brown. Snowshoe hares are covered in thick layered fur that changes color with the seasons for camouflage. The snowshoe hare is also called a varying hare because the color varies depending on the season. The snowshoe hare's large furry feet act like snowshoes, allowing the animal to move on top of the deep snow. This is how the hare got its name. The hind feet are heavily furred to protect it from the freezing temperatures, and all 4 feet are large in proportion to its body size. A snowshoe-like adaptation that enables the hare to travel over snow. Snowshoe hares range in length from 16 to 20 inches, of which about 2 is in its tail. They usually weigh about 3 to 3.3 pounds. They are active at low light levels and so are most often seen out and about at dawn, dusk, and during the night. They are also active on cloudy days. During the daylight hours, hares spend a great deal of time grooming, and they take fitful naps. Snowshoe hares feed at night on barks, shrubs, grasses, and plants. And they can jump as far as 10 feet in a single bound and run at bursts of 28 miles per hour. Wow, it's so cool that you get to live in the snow and that you're able to handle that. I wouldn't be able to, and I'm glad we got to see you today. Thanks for stopping by. Okay, friends, we have another guest in the studio, and here it is. It's tiny. Can you guess what it is? Let's put it where it belongs in the tree. You can hang up there in the tree, dude. It's called a ground squirrel. You guys might have seen ground squirrels. There are about 62 species of ground squirrels. Chipmunks, prairie dogs, marmots, and groundhogs are all ground squirrels. Ground squirrels live all over the world. They are found on every continent except in Australia and Antarctica. The average lifespan is from 3 to 18 years, depending on the species. Ground squirrels are highly variable in size. The largest species is the alpine marmot at 21 to 29 inches in length and weighing 11 to 18 pounds. The smallest species is the least chipmunk. It's 6.2 to 9.8 inches in total length with a weight of 0.88 to 2.33 ounces. Wow, that's super light. Ground squirrels have short legs, strong claws, small rounded ears, and a short or moderately long tail. Ground squirrels often live communally in complex burrows 2 to 4 feet deep and up to 30 plus feet long. That means more than 30 feet sometimes. Whoa, that's like 6 of Miss Jen. With each individual typically having a separate entrance. Burrows are used for hiding, resting, rearing young, and storing food. For hibernating too in areas where winter is severe. Their tunnels and mounds can be a hazard to humans, livestock, plants, and even buildings. Ground squirrels are excellent climbers, and they often climb up the trees when the predator is on the ground. Sometimes they climb shrubs to search for food. Ground-dwelling squirrels will also avoid dense forests or shrubs insofar as they can, as much as they can, but chipmunks like closed forests. They are active during the day and squirrels are popular with people because they can be readily tamed to approach for food. In some areas, it's now prohibited, means you can't do that anymore, for fear someone may be bitten. We don't want to be bitten by wild animals. That can really hurt. We'd have to go see the doctor. So don't try and feed wild animals, please. Like other rodents, when not being hand-fed by humans, they must gnaw to keep their front teeth filed down. That means they need to keep chewing on things. If they don't gnaw that much on wood, they do chew bark. Their favorite foods are dandelions, plantain, clover, and garden veggies. Here's an interesting fact. Females may try and fool rattlesnakes by chewing up old snakeskin and licking it onto themselves and their pups to obscure their own scent. Whoa, who knew? Thanks for stopping by. It was so great learning all about you and your friends. I didn't know there were so many of you. Well, that's all from this segment. Coming up, more wild and wonderful animals from the mountains. This is Miss Jen reporting from the RLCS newsroom. May God bless you and your family.